page 885, page 886, page 887, page 888, page 889, page 890, page 891, page 892, page 893, page 894. Distinguished Senator Surajuddin Ajibola.
Mr. President, distinguished senators of the Federal Republic, I hereby move for the adoption of the votes and proceedings of the Senate of Wednesday, 25th November 2020. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Ezenwa.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Ezenwa Onyewuchi, and I represent Imo East Senatorial District. I rise to second the motion as moved, and so second, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the votes and proceedings of 25th November 2020 be approved, say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. The votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 25th day of November 2020 is hereby approved. Letter from Mr. President. Transmission of the Finance Bill 2020 to the National Assembly for consideration and passage into law in support of the 2021 budget. Pursuant to sections 58 and 59 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999, as amended, I formally request that the Finance Bill be considered by the Senate for passage into law. The Finance Bill 2020 seeks to support the implementation of the 2021 budget by proposing key reforms to specific taxation, customs, excise, fiscal, and other laws, specifically this bill's provisions. A, adopt appropriate counter-cyclical fiscal policies to respond to the economic and revenue challenges precipitated by the decline in international oil prices, as well as the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the Nigerian economy. B, reform extant fiscal policies to prioritize job creation, economic growth, socio-economic development, domestic revenue mobilization, as well as to foster closer coordination with monetary and trade policies. C, provide fiscal relief for taxpayers by reducing the applicable minimum tax rate for 2 consecutive years of assessment, as well as reforming the commencement and cessation rules for small businesses. D, propose measures to fund the federal government's COVID-19 pandemic response and introduce provisions to enhance the recovery of corporate donations towards responses to the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as any similar crisis in the future. E, amend certain aspects of the Fiscal Responsibility Act to align the Act with the 1999 Constitution as amended, as well as to enhance fiscal efficiencies by controlling the cost-to-revenue ratios of key state and government-owned enterprises. And F, amend the Public Procurement Act to implement key procurement reforms previously proposed by the National Assembly in 2019 to extend the scope of the Act to the Federal Judiciary and Legislature, accelerate procurement processes, increase mobilization fee thresholds, and provide for essential e-procurement reforms. 3, I trust that this bill will be favorably considered by the National Assembly to accelerate its passage into law so as to support the implementation of the 2021 federal budget. 4, please accept the single Senate President the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari. Letter from Mr. President, dear distinguished Senate President, confirmation of appointment of commissioners for the Independent National Electoral Commission, Inec. Pursuant to paragraph 14 of part 1F of the third schedule to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, I hereby forward for confirmation by the Senate the following two nominees as national commissioners in the Independent National Electoral Commission, Inec. Their CVs are hereby attached. Professor Sani Muhammad Adam, Commissioner North Central, Dr. Baba Bila, Commissioner Northeast. The Senate is invited to note that this request is sequel to the expiration of tenure of Professor Antonia Tai Okosi Simbini, representing North Central, and Alhaji Baba Shatima Afo, representing Northeast respectively. While I trust that the Senate will consider and confirm the nominees in due expeditious manner, please accept the single Senate President the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Muhammadu Buhari. Birthday announcement. The 27th of November was the birthday of the single Senator Shaibu Isalo. Happy birthday on behalf of the Senate. I wish you a happy birthday, long life, continuing good health, prosperity, and many more years of service to our fatherland. The 28th of November was the birthday of Deputy Leader, House of Representatives, Honorable Peter Akpatison. On behalf of the Senate, I wish the minority, I wish the Deputy Leader a happy birthday, long life, prosperity, and many more years of service to the fatherland. Petitions. Distinguished Senator Geshambasi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Geshambasi, Cross River South. I have a petition here from the people of Ogboimbe community in Bayelsa State regarding oil spillage in their community. May I lay the petition?
Is anybody seeking judicial remedy? Okay, you may lay the petition, please. The petition is referred to the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions to report back within 4 weeks. Petitions? Leader of the Senate. Point of order, Senator Kashim Shatima.
Your Excellency, the President of the Senate, distinguished colleagues, we are harvesting death, blood, and destruction in the northeast of region and Borno in particular. And I wish to crave your indulgence and refer you to our orders 42 and 52. And with your kind permission, I can read them out.
You may read, please. Use your mic.
The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day sitting, as the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. And two, if the claim is allowed by the President of the Senate and the leave of the Senate is given by at least 1/5 of all the senators, the matter shall stand over till the next legislative day. And three, not more than one such motion shall be made at the same sitting. And Order 52 said notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of a motion or in respect of any other proceeding for which notice is required, except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators present. I raise, I so submit.
Have you read both 42 and 52? Okay. Because you have come under orders 42 and 52, I will have to put the question to get the endorsement of at least 1/3 of senators. The single senators, we have listened to our colleague, Senator Kashim Shettima. His request is we allow him to move his motion now. He has come under orders 42 and 52. Those in favor of his motion say aye. Those against saying the ayes have it. You can move your motion now.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. My name is Kashim Shettima. I represent the beleaguered but proud people of Borno Central Senatorial Zone in Borno State. Beheading of 67 farmers in Borno State by Boko Haram insurgents need for urgent decisive action. The Senate should note that Borno State has been the epicenter of the despicable activities of Boko Haram for over a decade, during which a conservative estimate of 40,000 people, mostly unarmed civilians, were brutally murdered. 2.5 million people displaced from their homes and farms. Property worth trillions of naira wantonly destroyed, and over 7 million people, mostly women and children, plunged into dire humanitarian needs. The Senate should also note that the fight to control the border axis of the northeastern parts of this country has claimed thousands of lives, military and civilian alike. That the fallen men and women of our military, police and civilian JTF are our national heroes, whom we must remember, pray for, and care for their loved ones till the end of time. Aware that over the weekend, Boko Haram insurgent members beheaded 67 farmers who had gone to a rice plantation at Koshabe village in the Barmari district of Jere local government area, 20 kilometers north of Maiduguri, Borno State capital, to harvest ripe farm produce and destroy the farm. Observes that this attack is one of the major attacks perpetrated by this devilish group, in addition to the February attack in Aunu that killed 40 people, the assault in Poduma Kolorom village of Gubio that killed almost 100 civilians last June, while another attack in Usman Lawanti led 40 days. Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, from the 1st of January to the 19th of this month, we have had 2,801 attacks and incidents in Borno State. Further observes that last month Boko Haram fighters killed 22 farmers working on irrigation fields near Maiduguri in 2 separate incidents. Further observes that while Nigerian Army's super camp strategy has commendably helped in reducing military fatalities, it has left rural areas, farms and roads acutely exposed to attacks. Further observes that as the Wall Street Journal documented in a recent report, and is supported by the testimonies of victims and survivors, while Maiduguri and other major cities are relatively safe, thanks to the effort of this administration, Boko Haram insurgents are literally ruling our rural areas and farms, such as the Maiduguri-Damaturu Road, especially around Jakana, Dombua Maiduguri Road, and Damaturu-Dapchi Road, while they mount checkpoints, rob, kill, destroy, and abduct at will. further observes that the recent spike on deliberate, consistent and systematic targeting of herders, fishermen, loggers, and now farmers will exacerbate the major food crisis in the north, lead to an unprecedented surge in food prices across Nigeria, and seriously damage our country's economy. The Senate should further observe that whatever it is that the security chiefs are doing presently is not working, or at least not enough. And if the president insists that the security chiefs are doing their work well, then the logical implication of such assumption is that the president, as the constitutional commander-in-chief of the country, has failed in his most rudimentary assignment of securing this nation. I hope this is not the case, and I fervently believe that this is not the case. I believe that the president has the best interest of the nation at heart, and he is committed to securing the territorial integrity of this country. The Senate should further observe that we have watched verifiable footages of Nigerian soldiers struggling to climb stairs or feed themselves while trying hard to contain deadly advances of the insurgents. A case study in this is the lamentation on record last year of the former commandant of Operation Lafia Dole, General Olusegun Adeni, that his men lacked the basic weapons and equipment to successfully fight Boko Haram. It is heartening that more than 67 citizens were beheaded while they were working in their farmlands without any form of resistance or challenge from the security agencies stationed a few kilometers away. Worried that the Nigerian military, in conjunction with other security agencies up till today, have not been able to quell the insurgency affecting the region, despite the slogan by government officials that the insurgents had been technically defeated. Concludes that we cannot, as a nation, move forward until the lives of every Nigerian is protected and secured, as the primary objective of government is the security and protection of its citizens. Protecting the lives and property of citizens is the primary obligation of government, and any government that cannot discharge this basic obligation loses any iota of legitimacy. Accordingly, resolves 1. Urge the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to immediately initiate a transitionary process of phasing out the current overstayed security chiefs and replacing them with new ones with new ideas and solutions. 2. Urge the President to take immediate steps to restructure, remodel, and revamp the country's entire security architecture and provide enough state-of-the-art weapons and equipment to effectively combat the belligerent power of the insurgents. 3. Urge the President to immediately initiate probe into widespread allegations of corruption and leakages within the security structure and put mechanisms in place to foster transparency and ensure all resources meant and deployed for security are actually spent on the needs on ground. Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, I am not a fool. I know the consequences of unveiling a masquerade. They will unleash their foot soldiers and pundits just for merely arguing that let there be a prop of the finances that are being advanced to the Nigerian military establishment. 4. Impress on the federal government to aggressively explore multilateral and bilateral options of partnership with the neighboring nations of Chad, Niger, and Cameroon towards reviving and strengthening the multinational joint task force and finding a lasting solution to the scourge of insurgency in the Lake Chad region. 5. Impress on the government to, as a matter of urgency, recruit at least 10,000 civilian JTF, versatile with the local terrain in Borno as agro rangers under the aegis of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps to complement the efforts of the Nigerian Armed Forces. Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, Borno is the second largest state in Nigeria after Niger State, with a total landmass of over 76,000 square kilometers. Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, kindly note that Borno is 20 times the size of Lagos State. Borno is 14 times the size of Abia State, and 3 times the size of the southeast of region fused into one. We need boots on ground, and this civilian JTF, when recruited into any of our paramilitary establishments, will be the foot soldiers that will help us in driving out the insurgents from the state. Because I'm absolutely certain some will agitate that why should you give such a huge number to one state of the Federation? Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, securing Borno, securing the Northeast is securing Nigeria. As I have repeatedly said, if we allow this insurgency to take over the Northeast, it is capable of metastasizing into a bigger conflagration that might consume the whole nation. So I wish to make a fervent appeal and prayer to the government of the Federation and this esteemed House to support this move to recruit the civilian JTF into the paramilitary establishment. 6, direct NEMA and NEDC to provide succor and psychological support to the bereaved families. 7, impress on the federal government to provide proper welfare for security personnel fighting in the front lines and give prime attention to the compensation and welfare of fallen soldiers, as that will boost the soldiers' morale and their concentration. And lastly, finally, as a way of providing long-term solution to Nigeria's existential security challenges, the federal and state governments must adequately address all immediate and remote causes of insecurity in the nation. This must include comprehensive packages of education, employment, and social fighting. Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, I want to thank you most profoundly for giving us this platform to air our views. Nigeria belongs to all of us, and we are all stakeholders in the Nigeria project. Thank you, and may God bless us all.
Senator Ahmad Babakaita.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me start by I rise to support the motion ably moved by Senator Kashin Shabutiwa. My name remains Ahmed Baba Keita, representing Katsina North. You are distracting me. Thank you, Mr. President. Let me start by condoling all Nigerians on this great loss. Let me equally lend my voice to this motion to say this is one too many. And I think the time of truth has come. It's no longer acceptable to every Nigerian of the situation that we find ourselves, especially in the Northeast. We cannot be mourning our citizens in and out every day. And we cannot accept, again, the explanation coming from the military every time there is an attack like this. Furthermore, as a digression, let me say, if the statement that are credited to the spokesperson of Mr. President, Mr. Garbashew, is true, then let me say that it's highly irresponsible and insensitive. He might be exposed to information that we and other Nigerians did not have. But at that point in time when everybody was mourning the loss of these citizens who are innocently killed and who have gone into their farms, despite the challenging economic situation in this country, to go and farm, thereby losing their life, and somebody is saying it's because they did not take clearance. We don't harvest crops in one day. We harvest them over time. So planting rice to its harvest is not a one-day affair. How did it happen, or what happened that all the time these people were busy farming their land, the military has not asked them to stop? So, Mr. President, I totally agree with the submission of my colleagues, Governor Kasim Shetima, and I believe that it has now facing us eyeball to eyeball, that we have to sit down and with this military and reassess their performance in this in the Northeast. I totally agree that the issues of security are tricky. There are some that you don't see. There are some that you will not be told because of their sensitivity. But we are past that time now, because say day in, day out, same scenarios keep repeating themselves. Then something is fundamentally wrong here. Mr. President, if we allow this to go like this, let's be ready for another morning. So that's why the effort of federal government on the security issues of Nigeria. And I totally believe the president is doing his own best. But then, doing your best is not enough when we cannot see the results on ground. And this is what is happening. It's no longer about money. This Senate and the National Assembly as a general has increased budget over budget, year over years, to the security apparatus of this country so that we can secure it. Yet, the more we give money, the more attacks we have. So, Mr. President, I think the resolutions or the suggestions that were proffered, especially that of the civilian JTF, I'm strongly for it. Because when the civilian JTF were introduced, we had the security level drop drastically. And there was improvement in security, and people were going about their normal duties. Let me equally say here, or assuage the fears of other people that are saying that Borno would take an undue advantage in the employment. I don't believe so. Every Nigeria, in fact, it's only in Nigeria that we do employment or recruitment based on state or region basis. It's based on what you want as a citizen. You want to be an Air Force or you want to be an economist, it doesn't matter. So if we are going to achieve the goal, I strongly agree with you, with your statement, in your opening statement during this that it's not what is it's not, we should target the consequence of this introduction to civilian JTF into the equation. And I believe introducing them will drastically improve the security situation there. Lastly, Mr. President, I want to call on the investigation of the funding of this military. It's high time. I don't want to believe, and I don't think we should accept increasing money, at least for now, to sure and to clear of the earlier investment that I want to once more condole the people of Maiduguri and Nigeria at all. And I want to equally say that this one is just one out. Last 2 weeks, we lost about 34 people in Katsina through the same way. Only that this were done in cluster of villages and they were done with guns. They went here and killed 7, went there and killed 8. So, as a nation and as a responsible government, this should worry us, and I think this is the last time, or at least we should work towards making this, minimizing this rate of attack till we are able to secure this country. Thank you very much.
Distinguished colleagues, I have a list of about 20 senators. So I would suggest that we try to minimize our interventions so that others can also take. Senator Mohammed Ali Ndumi.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, let me thank you very much for yesterday's visit, more especially your determination, despite security challenges, to go to Zabarbari to condole with the people. It was a great thing to do. And I'm happy that you have seen part of the type of life our people are going through in Zabarbari just from Maiduguri end of state locals to the Zabarmari area. Distinguished colleagues, this issue of insecurity has been there with us and degenerating. We have lamented, we set up committees, and we made recommendations. Up to now, Mr. President, the first report that you submitted to this Senate was not implemented. The second report was also not implemented. We have made several suggestions in this Senate, and nothing was done. Mr. President, you need to, and this Senate needs to move a step further to save this country. For the purpose of just emphasis, Mr. President, I want to read out Section 14, which is popular, but for the purpose of this debate, which you graciously said we should exhaustively do it, I want to read Section 14 of the Constitution. Section 14(1). The Federal Republic of Nigeria shall be a state based on principles of democracy and social justice. It is hereby accordingly declared that A, sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, from whom the government, through this constitution, derives its power and authority. Then B, security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. Distinguished colleagues, the government of Nigeria, the purpose for which we have this government is security and welfare of its citizens. We are just talking about the first leg of it, and that is security. We have not talked about the welfare in terms of humanitarian issues. Mr. President, before us is a budget of 13 trillion. And to the army, that we have their population as only 150 or thereabout, we are budgeting 27 billion for its capital. Yes, the figures, when you look at it, it's on the high side. Defense has over 800 billion. And more than 500 billion plus 100 billion for Operation Lafia Dole is for operational purpose. And that makes me to agree with my distinguished colleagues that there is the need to look into this. You pay people and they don't have the arms, they don't have the ammunition. I can tell you authoritatively that up to now, people in the war front are sharing ammunition. Up to now, Mr. President, you went through Zabarmari, and I'm sure you have stopped at a checkpoint. You have seen our soldiers. If it is not that you are told that these are soldiers, you will not be able to, differentiate between them and Boko Haram, because they are not well kitted. Some of them have they don't have bulletproof vests. Some of them have no helmet. And let me tell you the truth about it. I've gone round to various formations with my colleagues here. I may be wrong, but I have not seen a Nigerian army or soldier holding a brand new AK-47. Brand new, no. When you see brand new AK-47, it's only in Abuja here, Brigade of Guards and all that. Mr. President, what you saw in Zabarmari and the figures given out, 43 they say, my distinguished senator, we were on ground yesterday before you came. The number they have is 67. But that is not even the end of it. They keep on picking farmers. You have seen how vast that land is. I'm saying this, my distinguished colleagues, because even if this is what we will do this year to bring peace to Nigeria, I think it's worth it, because that's the purpose of government. You have seen what is happening. We are just talking of Borno, which is more intense. In my local government, last year, we lost from the beginning of the farming season, because our people are proud people. They want to live their subsistence life. They want to go to their farms.
In the process, by the end of the year, last year, we lost 53 people in their farms. This year, because soldiers took some measures, the death rate reduced to 22. This is for Goza alone. In Askira Uba, as I'm speaking to you, last week, the people came to me here in Abuja to beg me to contribute money so that they will pay the insurgents who say they must pay, if they want to go to their farm and pay, they must pay 1 million. They started gathering money so that they will allow them. 8 districts in Ubaskira now are under the influence of insurgents. In Sabongari, from Biu to Dambua, is just about 50 kilometers. But Boko Haram, because of their audacity, have staged checkpoints. They will stay there, and you stop with your car, you drop money, and then you pass. In Magumeri, in other areas, it's like that. Mr. President, the most painful part of it is, I believe that the government, if government is serious, this insurgency can be brought to an end in 6 months, or even less than that. When the mercenaries from South Africa came in, they were the ones with the combination of civilian JTF and of course the input of the military that were able to drive Boko Haram out of Maiduguri. What is the price? Why the pride? America, that is the strongest force in the world, engaged black waters. These are defense contractors. The Chaldean, I'm aware, have said it to us when the governor was there. Some of them, when they were given the first support, financial support that they required, in just one move, they moved their soldiers, about 1,000 of them, with over 250 assorted equipments. But they were there. Nigerians were saying they don't want intervention. They stayed there idle, and they had to leave. You know that when the issue became serious and they lost 70-something people in Chad, the president himself went there and stayed in the camp for 10 days, and they were able to rout Boko Haram out of Chad, fringes. As it is now, they only run and come back, but Chadians are sleeping at peace. You won't believe that if you leave Nigeria from Maiduguri to Ngala, as long as you are able to reach the border town of Ngala before 6 o'clock, you are safe. People drive from Ngala to everywhere without escort. But as of today, in Borno, we are living in a kind of modern prison, because if you don't go into Maiduguri before 3 o'clock, you will stay out. And you can't leave Maiduguri before 6 in the morning. Mr. President, please, you have started, and this Senate have started. We should stand up and do whatever it takes to secure our country. We are just talking about Borno. What is happening in Northwest? You have heard from Kaita. That's small part of it. Day before yesterday, 2 days ago, consistently. Now the poor people cannot fly from Abuja to Kaduna, Mr. President. The bandits have audacity now because the ill-equipped soldiers that we have, they know. They deliberately come and start opening fire, and our soldiers will be counting their bullets. They overwhelm them most of the time, and that's why you hear them running away and throwing their arms. We should stop lamenting, Mr. President. 6 points that our governor mentioned should be co-opted into our prayers. There should be a timeline. When we approve this budget, there should be a timeline. If they don't get this problem solved, they should get out. And in the issue of recruitment, you can't fight with a vast land like Nigeria with 30,000 troops deployed to the theater, they call it. And they don't have the area support. And worst of it, Mr. President, I can say here, because you gave me the responsibility of oversighting the army. They don't have security. The army will go
for an operation and the Air Force is not aware. They don't have the aerial coverage. And they are moving their small platforms from northwest to rivers to, you can't do that. And Mr. President, yes, it's true that you can't go and get some of this product off the shelf. But what is wrong with Pakistan is there, India is there. You can go and enter into agreement with them, let them deploy area coverage for these soldiers. Mr. President, we should not stop by thinking that these people are professionals. They are not professionals, though. We represent the people. We know what the people want. And they should hear us out. This time around, Mr. President, once you pass this resolution, you must personally ensure that you put this resolution before Mr. President and ask him for a timeline. We have that constitutional responsibility. We will be failing in our duties if we allow our people to continue dying and for you to be sent to Maiduguri only to go and do Fatiha and then ask people it's from God. It's not from God, it's from us. Distinguished colleagues, please, if it is happening in Borno today, it can happen anywhere. So we should take proactive measures. It is better to be late than to be than never. We can do it, and people are looking up to us. We want to thank you for taking this motion that was brought very seriously, and the content should be taken seriously. And finally, Mr. President, this Senate should consider asking government to compensate every family that loses its life because of the failure of government to provide security, which is constitutional. So it's not enough to just people die like that. We should take the statistics. If somebody loses his life to an armed robber and the government is supposed to provide security in that area, the person that lost his life should be compensated. The family should be compensated. It's not enough to say you condemn. It's not enough you leave some people, because sometimes most of these people are the breadwinners of the society or the community in the land. We should look at that, Mr. President, so that these 43 people or 67 now should be counted and compensation should be paid to them. These people that banditry people kidnap, the government should pay compensation to them. Instead of saying the family should go and negotiate. Can you imagine, Mr. President, the security agencies advising people that have kidnapped, there are people who have been kidnapped, to advise them, okay, talk to them and make sure that you negotiate downward and pay the ransom. Distinguished colleagues, I'm sorry for becoming too emotional, because if you see the condition of our people, that's what you saw yesterday, Mr. President, is just one part of it. Today, I'm sure, wallahi, somebody will die as a result of the humanitarian crisis that follows this situation that we find ourselves. People cannot go to their farms. People cannot feed. The government doesn't have the resources. And worst of it, the humanitarian actors, especially the government one, are not there, Mr. President. We hear government saying they budget 500 billion and we don't see it. Borno State is supposed to be the first, but we don't see anything. And we should ask questions. We should investigate. That is our responsibility. Constitutionally, we all swore here to defend that constitution. Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues.
So now, Mohammed Adamadorum.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I remain Muhammad Adam Alero, representing Kebbi Central. Mr. President, let me lend my support to this very important motion ably moved by Senator Kashim Shettima. Mr. President, as I speak, my heart bleeds because innocent people, defenseless people have been killed without any justification whatsoever. And these people move into their farmlands under the pretext that the area is safe. The government of Nigeria said farmers should go and work on their farm. We should grow what we eat, and we should eat what we grow. This is the statement made by Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief.
meaning that Nigeria should not import food. We should rely on our farmers. We should rely on our land resources. Mr. President, these people were trying to eat a living, and suddenly they met their end. It is sad, it is unfortunate. That happened in a very brutal and barbaric manner. Mr. President, this doesn't happen anywhere in the world where people can be slaughtered, their heads severed separately from their body, and they were showing it to the whole world. If you check the internet, you will see it. It is the height of insensitivity. This is a condemnable act. And I believe Mr. President should have gone to Borno State to condole the government and people of Borno State, not to send a delegation, even though you as our president have gone there. But the ideal thing to do is for Mr. President to go there personally and condole the government and people of Borno State. Mr. President, we have lost so many lives as a result of insurgency and banditry, not only in Borno, in Katsina, in Zamfara, in Sokoto, in Kaduna, in Niger, the story is the same. It is now time to act. We have exhaustively discussed all what is supposed to be discussed on security in this country. From the 8th Senate to the 9th Senate, we have virtually exhaustively discussed everything that is supposed to be discussed. Resolutions were made, but as my colleague said, they have not been properly implemented. We should follow up and ensure that those resolutions are implemented so that our people can be secured, so that government can live up to its expectation by protecting lives and property of people. Mr. President, I agree with the suggestion that we should employ civilian JTF, particularly those that are within the locality, because they have the knowledge of the area and they know the terrain very well. They can assist the military to crush the insurgents. I believe, Mr. President, the army itself is overstretched. They don't have enough manpower, and they don't have enough weapons. Even though we have voted so much money, so much resources, every year we budget billions and billions, in fact, trillions of naira. But we have not achieved the objective, that is securing Nigeria. So I therefore support the idea that we should prove what has been budgeted so that we will know exactly what is happening. Mr. President, the idea of what we call the IDPs, internally displaced persons, we have more of them in the Northeast than any other place in the country. Mr. President, it is now time for government to adequately take care of the internally displaced persons. From what we have close to about 1.2 million people in the Northeast. It is time for government to come up with measures on how we can improve their welfare. They are living in a very, very bad condition. The humanitarian crisis there is deplorable. So we should therefore do all we can to ensure that they are adequately taken care of by way of their education, by health, and even sanitation, Mr. President. It is a very, very sad situation from what we learned. Equally, NGOs and international agencies, donor agencies are doing their best. But whatever they are doing it to complement the effort of both the state government and also the federal government. The primary responsibility rests with the federal government and the state government. And, what do you call them? Donor agencies are just trying to complement whatever the two governments are doing. But I believe we are not doing enough to take care of them. And on the issue of strategy, Mr. President, it is a well-known fact that the service chiefs have outlived their usefulness. it is time now to inject new blood so that they can come up with new ideas and strategies on how to fight both insurgency and banditry in this country. We have taken so long. We have been patient on this resolution. We want it to be implemented. Unless there is genuine reason not to implement it, which I doubt if there is any. And the time to do it now in order to save further lives. Mr. President, the issue of mercenaries. Yes, during Jonathan administration, they were recruited in this country. And there was sanity from what we had from even the former governor and people in Borno State. But suddenly, immediately they moved away. The insurgents came in, killing people, maiming, dragging people away from their homelands. Mr. President, if we cannot employ the mercenaries, we should buy all the equipment and gadgets the mercenaries were using, train our own military men to do the same work the mercenaries were doing. It is not a rocket science. They were using helicopter gunboats with all the gadgets installed on this night vigil equipment. If we can train our people to man this aircraft, they can do the same job the military were doing, sorry, the mercenaries were doing. Mr. President, nothing is too much to save lives and properties of people. Peace is sine qua non to development. You cannot talk of education, healthcare, roads construction, electricity without peace. This cannot happen. Mr. President, I'm sorry to say that we have lost more lives. The only time Nigeria lost lives much more than now was during the Civil War. So it is now time for us to act in order to prevent further calamities. Mr. President, I also support the idea that we should collaborate more with our neighbors, particularly in Niger, Cameroon, and Chad, because no matter what we do, if we don't get their support, we will not succeed. The moment we drive them away from our territory, they will go and get sanctuary, shelter in either Niger or Cameroon or Chad. And after some time, they will come back and attack again. So it is important that we collaborate very well with our neighbors so that we can overcome, this insurgency. Mr. President, I also support the idea that apart from discussing in this chamber, there should be a higher powered committee that will go and meet Mr. President and sit with him and discuss on how the implementation of this resolution can be done. This is the only way we can save this country. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Michael Opemi Bamidele.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I am Michael Opemi Bamidele. I represent the Ekiti Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, it's yet another moment when we run the risk of Nigerians looking at us as a group of elected representatives who sit in the red chamber to shed crocodile tears. But we know that is not what we do. But we are victims of certain circumstances that make it look like that's who we are. Mr. President, there's probably nothing any one of us will say here today that had not been touched on before. The only thing that is new is that more people have been killed in a most barbaric manner. Yet we have to say something as elected representatives of the people. Mr. President, we are unhappy about what happened in Borno. We are unhappy about what has happened in Katsina, what happened in Niger, what happened in different parts of the northern part of the country. But even in the southwest, in the southeast, in the south-south, things are happening. People are being kidnapped. There's some form of insurgency. In those states, just last week, a paramount ruler was killed. Now, Mr. President, my own contribution is this. Let us stand on existing resolutions. In addition, of course, to the prayers that the mover of this motion just made clear to us on the floor this afternoon. For me, the number one resolution that I would like to re-emphasize on the floor of this Senate today is that it is time for Mr. President to allow our service chiefs to go. They have done their best. They have worked so hard. The best anybody can give is his best. You cannot give what you do not have. And if the president believes so much in these service chiefs, let him remove them as service chiefs and constitute them into a presidential advisory committee on security matters. And they will still be there to be advising him. But let some, younger ones take over as service chiefs and move the country forward in this respect. Fighting Boko Haram cannot be something that we'll be doing by habit. It cannot become part of our national life. It cannot become part of what we budget for year in, year out as a routine. This war is becoming a routine, and there's a need to bring it to an end. Lives are being lost on a daily basis. Senator Ndume brought back to our attention a constitutional provision that we're all familiar with, Section 14, subsection 1B, which defines the primary purpose of government as being the welfare and security of the people. And we all agree that, this is not being fulfilled. And where a government is deemed to be in breach of Section 14(1)B of the Constitution, that government is also, automatically deemed to be in breach, either consciously or unconsciously, in breach of Sections 32, 33, and 34 of our Constitution, which provides for the right to life, right to personal liberty, and right against torture. These are things that go together when you fail to fulfill the provision of Section 14(1)B. So, what are we talking about? Let these service chiefs go. And if Mr. President will not remove them, we call on these service chiefs in overriding public interest to resign honorably and look forward to being appointed as members of the Presidential Advisory Committee on Security to work with Mr. President. So this is one contribution that I really want to emphasize. My second contribution on a final note, Mr. President, is that the budget that we have before us, the amount of over 800 billion naira set out for defense, comprising all of the armed forces, more than 60% of it is specifically tailored towards prosecuting this war. I believe, Mr. President, before this budget is passed, it's either Mr. President himself comes to address this parliament on the way forward with respect to this security matter, or we hold a joint session of the National Assembly and do a public hearing and allow Nigerians an opportunity to also speak to this issue. I don't think it should just be a question of us sitting here to pass this budget. It should not be business unusual. That's what I would like to say, Mr. President. I thank you for the opportunity.
Senator George Thompson Sekibo.
Thank you, Mr. Senior President. Thank you very much for the opportunity to join my colleagues to support the motion as ably moved by Senator Kashin. Mr. President, I am filled with grief. I am seeing a future that is bleak. I'm seeing a future that it appears none of us here is certain of the next day. When there is killing virtually on every day. And before I go to the few points I will make, Mr. President, I'm taking you to the 7th schedule of our Constitution, Oaths of Allegiance. It says this: I, you put in your name, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So help me God. Mr. President, having said this, I will refer us to section 14(1)(b), which have been cited by many of our colleagues. The primary function of government is for security and welfare of the people, to protect the people. If that is the constitutional provision, and then we swore to protect that section of the Constitution, which is the primary function, which is the primary assignment we all have. Have we not failed? Where we have failed, we should say we have failed. If as a country we have failed, then we have failed. This is not a partisan issue. It's not about PDP or APC. When Boko Haram killed these people in the north, these people we are hearing about, go and check them. There is a mixed breed from all shades of life. There could be any person. When bandits catch you on the road, they will not ask you which political party do you belong to. If they are the cut your neck, they cut your neck and go wherever you belong to. So it's not a party thing, but it's about leadership doing what it ought to do. We should not shy away from it. We have failing our people. We swore to this Constitution to protect section 14(1)(b). We are not talking about the various lacks in the country. We are not talking about welfare now. But even if you are not eating, can't you sleep and wake up the following morning with hope of getting something at least to eat? How do we feed? Mr. President, I want to do a farm in Wakolada, and I went on that day. Then I was reading my social media drops, and I saw that 110 persons were slaughtered and their neck cut off. I told the agent who was going to show me a land, please, let's turn back. Because there was no need. Look at me now. I'm carrying inside the bush, not ocean. I'm a swimmer. I'm a fisherman. But I want to learn how to farm based on what our people are doing. And then I read that in. I didn't read the land, I turned back. I don't understand Hausa. I don't understand Plenary. I don't understand any other language apart from English in a job. Then I'm going in the middle of that wilderness. I say, come back. They have deprived one Nigeria who want to do farming to feed the people. And I am sure it's the same thing for every person. Then think about the local farmers who are going to farm. You said that your mother was killing the farm. Can you go to farm again? We are crying every day of food shortage. And Mr. President said he will work hard to make us to be sufficient in food. But this is the problem. Now, I want to refer you, because you see, when there's a failure in the family, the husband is responsible. Because he's the head of the family. The president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of this country. If there are many failures of the military, then the commander-in-chief is not doing enough. We should say that point blank. This is not about any person. He should do more. He should do more. Now, when this government came in 2015, there was a promise. In 6 months, Boko Haram will go and sleep, will go and rest. They will be completely removed. They will chase them away.
Your mic.
All right, sir. All right, sir. Yes, let's see. I leave that area. But,
Thank you very much.
but then, yes, let's see. 5 years plus. 5 years plus. We are just lamenting every day we come here. We have spoken about insecurity in this chamber, at least in this year alone. Maybe 7, 8 motions have come on that note. You will recall there was a committee you led on insecurity.
Distinguished colleagues, before we round up, let me just caution us, please. This is not supposed to be a partisan matter. We have a very serious and grievous situation in our hands. So let's not go to party sentiments, because after all, the 2015 takeover of the APC was to inherit this serious, and so let's not talk about that. Thank you. Go ahead.
Well guarded, Mr. Senior President. So, Mr. President, let me now go in this direction. First, I completely agree with all the prayers of the motion. I completely agree with all the prayers. The governor will recall in 2014 or 13 or thereabout, when the Boko Haram captured Baga, I was there. I went there with those of my committee members, joint committees. We went there, and he was then governor. He told us the importance of the civilian JTF. And truly, when they are properly empowered, after the training by the military, they did very well and they were doing very well. Where are those civilian JTF? How do we remove them from the system? And then we now went back from fire, from Rampan, down to the fire again. So it is my thinking that those JTF, even though they become a problem in the country after now, but having given them a military training, absorb them to the military. They know the terrain. They know where to chase these people to. But if you don't know, if you carry me from Anijo land and send me to Bruno to go and fight this one, assuming they are defeating us, where will I run to? But this is we know how to manage the environment. Use those who know the place to fight the battle. So it is my thinking that we should call them back, give them proper training, and make them to help us fight this battle. The others are, Mr. President, our military, especially the army, is really under recruited. They need more manpower. We need more manpower. What I am not sure, as Senator Ndume said, is about their funding, whether they are properly utilized or not. But I think that maybe they are utilizing them. Maybe we are not even giving them enough. So let fund don't make us to lose one more person. If it is money, we should allocate more fund to them. During fire in the house, when there is fire in the house, you don't ask who put the fire. You first of all put out the fire, and then you now ask who put the fire. We are now at that point. When the plane is crashing, you don't blame each other. You all pray that you are safe landing. That is the point we are. The country is crashing. So we should not go and investigate any person now. Let us see that we empower them more and see what we can do to fight the battle to the end. Mr. President, if a battle is stronger than even America, they hire mercenaries to work. We can hire any person from the world that are very good in curbing terrorism. We can do so. If it means spending the entire budget of the year to fight that battle and then win the war, I think it is important that we do so. On this short briefing or comment, Mr. President, I support the motion and I support all the prayers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Senator Danjumala.
Thank you, Mr. President.
my distinguished colleagues, it is indeed people have spoken their mind and they've said all what they're supposed to say. But I stand here before you to say that what they say, they are saying it from the bottom of their hearts. Sorry, I could not mention my name. My name is Senator La, I represent Kaduna South. Represent Kaduna South. I really appreciate all what the senators here are talking today. It has been a point that I expect everybody to understand it could happen to anybody. I'm glad that everybody is ready to say the facts and nothing but the fact. If all these things had been on ground long before now, we would have arrived to a particular point. When this thing came to be, we could not allow this thing to be speaking out, to be spoke out by the people of this Senate. Everybody will be hiding feelings, running away from blames. You don't want to say precisely what is on ground. I said it in this chamber, that the Boko Haram are all over. They are all over in this country. When they were fighting them in the northeast there, they ran down into the mainstream Nigeria as a whole. They were hiding. They move around with the people to tap information, trying to know how to go about. And it has got to this point now that we are suffering it. If we keep sentiment aside, we speak as a body, as a people of Nigeria, I am telling you, Boko Haram would have long been a way out of this country. Because at times, we normally speak, try to do some sentimentation by saying that we are Muslim, we are Christians.
Distinguished, please, I don't think there's any senator here who stood up to say he's Muslim, he's Christian, he's this sentiment. We are senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and we are trying to find a solution to a very serious and nagging problem. I think we have to be just, okay.
Sir, as you earlier said, my trying to differentiate in that way, if you see me as I'm standing there this way, you won't know whether I'm a Muslim or not a Christian. So I speak the mind of what I think other people feel. I could say I'm a Muslim, I could say I'm a Christian. As long as I'm from the north, nobody can detect who I am unless I open my mouth to say, this is where I belong. So if I'm speaking this thing, I include myself, even the Christians. They are sell out too. Nobody is not blamed on this case. All of us, both the Christian and the Muslim, we are sell out. Where they get money, they give them money to pass information. They are the same people that go to buy food and give it to Boko Haram in the bush. This thing has been happening. Even some of my brothers have been seeing this. Even the same thing with some of the houses. This is something that you said that we should speak the fact. It has been happening. They go around to give information to where they are not supposed to give information. We see it, we heard it, we complain, and nobody goes to solve the situation. Now that it has come, I could remember time without number. Many of our people have been slaughtered and buried, about 120, 130 in one grave. Not just because of anything, because of the Boko Haram that comes in to bring all this kind of problem in this country. We know the problem, but we are refusing to take it into consideration. But now it has come. If it means us taking it more harder than hard it was before, we should better be right now. This is the right time. No going back. We'll take it, and most time we don't implement what we talk. Once we talk it and we finish, we'll get out of this place, we forget what we want to do. Nigerians are so common in doing these things. Instead of taking things into consideration, we don't take it. You will talk your mind, they will do this today, do this tomorrow. When tomorrow comes, it will no longer be hard. Time without number that we have been saying this. Solutions to all these things, if you are in front as a war fighter, go with your plans, go with what you have in your mind to go and do. Don't stop exposing yourself outside. Don't let everybody know what you are having in mind to go and do outside. If the moment you start speaking to the people have heard you, they will start planning on taking another different step. If we are trying to do this thing, as we did this morning, we sat as a closed door meeting. Let's take our decision here.
Meet the president, reveal this is what we discussed with my senators and all this, and this is what I want to do. How do you see it? No, sir, president will say, go ahead. I said, president, if we don't do that, as we're talking here, people are hearing, definitely we have shown our concern that the situation in the country is beyond repairable. If we are doing this, after taking a decision, let it be a closed door meeting. As we are making this noise, people will see all we have spoken. But sit down, articulate all what we want to do anywhere, then we'll face the reality and face the music squarely as the way it's supposed to be. Anytime we talk and we started to frame all our decisions, what we want to do in this country, people are sitting there watching us, they will take all what we have said and they'll change the method. Try to adopt a different system, then we cannot be able to get them. Please, this is just my piece of advice. If need be, whatever we discuss as people in the closed door meeting, let us be kept there. I will continue with different things that we are going to discuss and face the reality thereafter. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Samebu.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Sam Egu. I represent Ebonyi North Central District. Mr. President, I do not want to go to what others have said, but I want to start by supporting this very important motion by His Excellency, the former governor of Borno State. I want to go to the area of our military. We have said it before, our military is overstretched. There is no way, considering our large landmass, that it will cover areas. And that is why, after a place has been liberated and our displaced civilians asked to go back, because they don't have enough soldiers to man and stay in those areas, Boko Haram will find their way back and attack people. When you settle our IDPs, because they are farmers, they want to go to the farm to get their food. And then in the farm, maybe because the few soldiers are within the town, the farming areas or the farmlands don't have presence of soldiers. And they will also be caught there and slaughtered like we just saw now. So the idea of training our civilian JTF is very, very important. But here I want to say, it's not just training them. We have to be strategic. In training them, they should go back to their villages and stay. And not only giving military training, but giving proper orientation. In Afghanistan, like in Vietnam, despite the superiority of American weapons, they were not able to conquer this area because the inhabitants were determined, had the strong will and resilience to defend their land. So if we get these JTF that are properly trained, they should go to their areas. So when the soldiers are able to flush these terrorists, they will stay back with their military experience and defend their land. That is the secret of the whole process. So I support that they should be trained, more JTFs, and not only trained, properly deployed and given the proper military and ideological training to be able to know that this is my land. No matter what happens, I can't leave anybody. And with that spirit, they must always defend that area. And once a place has been secured and secured, it will be difficult for people to start talking about Boko Haram going back to those areas to attack the civilians. Mr. President, the second issue and the last one is with regards to the military and defense pacts we have with countries with other countries. Mr. President, I remember vividly that in May 2018, the former British Prime Minister Theresa May visited Nigeria among two other countries, South Africa and Kenya. And when she came to Nigeria, she signed a military treaty or pact with Nigeria to provide military equipment and training to our soldiers. We're talking about bringing mercenaries. In as much as we want to do that, what about the countries we have signed military pacts with? It is not a shame if Nigeria will approach those countries for assistance. I believe that when that happens, we'll be able to be in a position to actually Flush out these terrorists once and for all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, is there anybody against this motion? I know that all of us would love to speak, but I think those of our colleagues who have spoken our minds, definitely. So we'll go to the prayers. The Senate accordingly resolves to 1, urge the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to immediately initiate a transitionary process of phasing out the current overstayed security chiefs and replacing them with new ones with new ideas and solutions. Those in favor of prayer 1 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, urge the President to take immediate steps to restructure, remodel, and revamp the country's entire security architecture and provide enough state-of-the-art weapons and equipment to effectively combat the belligerent power of the insurgents. Those in favor of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3, urge the President to immediately initiate probe into widespread allegations of corruption and leakages within the security structure and put mechanisms in place to foster transparency and ensure all resources meant and deployed for security are actually spent on the needs on ground. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 4, impress on the federal government to aggressively explore multilateral and bilateral options of partnership with neighboring nations of Chad, Niger, and Cameroon towards reviving and strengthening the multinational joint task force and finding a lasting solution to the scourge of insurgency in the Lake Chad region. Those in favor of prayer 4 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 5, impress on the federal government to, as a matter of urgency, recruit at least 10,000 civilian JTF, versatile with local terrain in Borno as agro rangers under the aegis of the NCDSC to complement the efforts of the Nigerian Armed Forces. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 6, direct NEMA and NEDC to provide succor and psychological support to the bereaved families. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Your amendment, Senator Ndumi.
In view of the suggestion I made during the debate, I want to amend this prayer 6 to direct NEMA and NDE and humanitarian ministry to compensate the families of the 67 that were killed in this incident.
Senator Ndime, my problem with that prayer is, will that be the mandate of the humanitarian? I think we need to look at their mandate so that we don't ask them to do something that is not within their mandate because they can't do it. Who is supposed to compensate?
Is to include the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, and then maybe based on your advice, this succor and psychological support to the families will remain. But we should add, in the amendment, add Ministry for Humanitarian Affairs.
Yeah.
Should be included.
Seconder, please. Senator Abo. No, you are supposed to second the amendment. Okay. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of prayer 6 as amended, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 7, impress on the federal government to provide proper welfare for security personnel fighting in the front lines and give prime attention to the compensation and welfare of fallen soldiers, as that would boost the soldiers' morale and aid their concentration. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And prayer 8, finally, as a way of proffering long-term solution to Nigeria's existential security challenges, the federal and state government must adequately address all immediate and remote causes of insecurity in the nation. This must include comprehensive packages on education, employment, and other social vices. Those in favor of prayer 8 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Well, distinguished colleagues, thank you very much for the various interventions. Additional prayer, Senator Abraham Lagobir.
Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, I think there should be massive recruitment of personnel in the army and the police to be able to take care of the situation. Because
Okay. Senator Halluru Jika.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I rise humbly to support as motion heavily moved by Senator Gobir. I so do.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the additional prayer, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues, for the various interventions. And let me commend Senator Kashim Shatima for bringing this very important and timely motion to the Senate. Well, this is not the first, this is not the second on the case of insecurity in the country. I believe that the National Assembly, particularly this chamber, has taken the issue of insecurity very seriously. We have always given attention to it. And I want to urge us not to feel disillusioned, not to despair, and not to be frustrated that we have been talking about this and nothing happened. This is what we are supposed to do, but we take additional steps to insist that our resolutions are respected and implemented, because the parliamentarians are very close to the people. We are on in a daily contact with our people. All the time, the issues happening in our environments, in our senatorial districts, are well aware, and we are well informed about them. So I believe that this is one set of resolutions that the executive must find a way of quickly implementing them. These are not frivolous or imaginary resolutions. These are resolutions that have come from experience on ground. And the way the executive and legislature would have to work is to cooperate to ensure that these resolutions and subsequent resolutions are treated very well, because our belief is the executive alone cannot do it or go alone and succeed, vice versa. And I believe that this is one thing that will gladden the heart of Nigerians once we start to implement them. I also believe that the National Assembly has a lot of responsibility and weight on this and other issues. That is to say that this is supposed to be a turning point. I use the word turning point very, very purposefully, that the killings, the slaughter, the barbaric and gruesome murder of people in Borno on Saturday, let's make it the turning point of the fight against insurgency and indeed insecurity in Nigeria. And I believe that government as a whole should see it that way. Enough of any excuses. People who have little or nothing to add should be shown the way out. People who have the capacity, the wherewithal, but probably lack the resources, will make the resources available. At the end of the day, like all of us here who contributed mentioned, we are responsible to citizens. And the first responsibility is to secure their lives. And today there is nothing more important in Nigeria to the Nigerian citizen than securing his life or her life. So the security of Nigeria should take center stage much more than anything else. Yes, we need infrastructure, but we build infrastructure for the people. So let's secure the people first. And no investment in security is too much. Not especially when you are faced with so much insecurity. This is something that works against everything, from our investments, economic development, our GDP, up to agriculture particularly contributes significantly to our GDP. Now the bandits are saying, and the insurgents are saying, no more agriculture. So how do you feed the people? How do you increase the economy if GDP from agriculture is very high? So time has come for the executive and the legislature to find a solution to this insecurity. We can't go on all the time just taking motions and resolutions, and at the end of the day, we don't find any action. I believe that the executive will receive the resolutions of the Senate on this, and will also make every possible effort to ensure that these resolutions are respected and implemented. Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of a House bill standing in my name on the Counseling Fractioners Establishment Bill 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Counseling Practitioners Establishment Bill 2020, HB 409, first reading.
Counseling Practitioners Establishment Bill 2020, HB 409, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Emmanuel Boacha on the Police Service Commission Establishment Act 2001 Amendment Bill 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Police Service Commission Establishment Act 2001 Amendment Bill 2820, SB 580, first reading.
Police Service Commission Establishment Act 2001 Amendment Bill 2020, SB 580, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator James Manager on the Corporate Affairs Commission Act number 3, 2020, Amendment, etc. Bill 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Corporate Affairs Commission Act number 3, 2020, Amendment Bill 2020, SB 552, first reading.
Corporate Affairs Commission Act number 3, 2020, Amendment Bill 2020, SB 552, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator O.V. Omo Agege on the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 Alteration Bill 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 Alteration Bill 2020, SB 548, first reading.
Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 Alteration Bill 2020, SB 548, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Gashon Bass on the Nigerian Research Institute of Fisheries and Aquaculture, Bakassi, Establishment Bill 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Nigerian Research Institute of Fisheries and Aquaculture, Bakassi, Establishment Bill 2020, SB 116, first reading.
Nigerian Research Institute of Fisheries and Aquaculture, Bakassi, Establishment Bill 2020, SB 116, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
My highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the sixth business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Committee on Aviation on Unfair Competition. Urgent need to protect Nigeria's indigenous airlines from extinction due to multiple designations and multiple frequencies granted foreign airlines in Nigeria. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Smart Adebi, Chairman of the Committee on Aviation, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Where is Senator? Oh, Senator Smart Ademi, former comrade.
Mr. President, I rise to move the motion that the Senate do receive the report of the Senate Committee on Aviation
on the unfair competition in the aviation industry. I hereby move, Mr. President.
Sorry? Any seconder? Deputy Leader.
Mr. President, I distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion ably moved by Senator Adeyemi that the Senate do receive the report on the Committee on Aviation on the unfair competition urgent need to prevent Nigeria's indigenous airline from extinction due to multiple designations and multiple frequencies granted foreign airlines in Nigeria. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive the report of our Committee on Aviation, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. You may lead the report. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Inec on the screening of Professor Mahmoud Yakubu for appointment as Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, Inec. Distinguished senators will recall that the request of Mr. President was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 25th November 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Kabiru Gaya, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report. I so move.
Senator Kabiru Ibrahim Gaya.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I am Kabiru Gaya, representing the people of Kano South from Kano State. Mr. President, that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Inec on the confirmation of the nomination of Professor Mahmoud Yakubu for appointment as Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. I so move, Mr. President.
Sorry, please. Yes, Senator Hillary Jika. You raise your hand for seconding.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Hillary Jika, representing Bauchi Central Senatorial Zone. I rise humbly to second that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on INEC. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of our Committee on INEC, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. You may lead the report, please. Chairman, you may present the report now.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, the Senate, in its sitting on Wednesday, 25th November 2020, deliberated on the request by Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Republic of Nigeria for the confirmation of the nomination of Professor Mahmoud Yakubu for appointment as Chairman of INEC, Independent National Electoral Commission. And in its wisdom, the Senate referred same to this committee for further legislative action. The confirmation of the nomination for the appointment of the nominee, Professor Mohammed Yakubu as Chairman, was made under Section 1531F of the Constitution. Further, this request was made pursuant to the provision of Section 1541 of the Constitution, Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, which requires that the appointment of chairman and members of any of the bodies so established under Section 1531F shall be made by the President, and the appointment shall be subject to confirmation by the Senate. For the avoidance of doubt, Section 154 provides as follows. Except in case of ex-official members or where other provisions are made in this Constitution, the chairman and members of any of the bodies so established shall be subject to provision of this Constitution by appointment by the President, and the appointment shall be subject to confirmation by the Senate. Mr. President, I would like to go through up to maybe committees or recommendations or observations on page findings or observations. Mr. President, we can go to page 11 of page 12. Committee's resolution, institution. I think we start with the general observations. Mr. President, can we go to page 10 on findings of the committee? Page 10 starts from page 10 findings. That the committee found the nominee suitable for the position of chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, Inec, having made the following findings during the course of the screening exercise. One, that no petition or incriminatory reports were received against the nominee. Number two, the nominee possesses the requisite educational qualification for the position of the chairman. That the nominee, number three, the nominee displays a high level of intelligence and appeared to have the temerity to hold the office of the chairman. Number four, that the nominee is not affiliated to any political party. Number five, that he had never participated in any political rally or campaign. That the nominee is a person of integrity. General observation, Mr. President, that the nominee, Professor Mohamed Yakubu, has satisfied the requirement of Section 1541, Section 14.1 and 2 of the third schedule, Part 1F, as contained in 1999 Constitution of the Republic of Nigeria, as amended, and Order 119 and 121 of the Senate Standing Order 2015 as amended. For the avoidance of doubt, Section 14.1 and 2 of the third schedule, Part 1F, provide that the Independent National Electoral Commission shall comprise the following members. Number 1A, a chairman, who shall be the chief electoral officer or commissioner, and 12 members to be known as national commissioners. Number 2A, a member of the commission shall be no partisan and a person of unquestionable integrity. Number B, not to be less than 40 years of age in the case of chairman, and not less than 35 years of age in the case of national commissioner. Committee's resolution. Having studied the nominee's curriculum vitae and other relevant documents in addition to exhaustive interaction and deliberation, the committee members were unanimously satisfied with the nominee, considering his wealth of experience, exposure, performance, qualification, competence, integrity as required by the Constitution, and found him suitable for appointment as chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, Inec. Recommendation, Mr. President. After carefully scrutinizing all the relevant documents of the nominee and due consideration of his level of exposure, experience, performance, qualification, integrity, and in compliance with the Constitution provisions cited paragraph 90 above, the Senate Committee on Independent National Electoral Commission, Inec, hereby recommends as follows. That the Senate do confirm the nomination of Professor Mahmoud Yakubu as chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, Inec. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, on behalf of the members of this committee, I wish to most sincerely thank the President of the Senate, other principal officers, and indeed the entire distinguished members of this Senate for giving the Senate Committee on Independent National Electoral Commission, Inec, the opportunity to serve in this regard. Thank you. I so move, Mr. President.
Comments? Senator James Manager.
Thank you, Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues. James A. Biowo, Manager, CON Delta South. Mr. President, I am not surprised that the committee members decided to, in unity, approve this particular nominee and then recommending same to the Senate. I am not surprised because I am also very happy with this nomination. So far, in the first tenure of this man, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, he displayed rare courage, independence, and impartiality in so many things that he did, as far as I am concerned. The only problem with Inec is down the ladder. When you acquire quite a lot of people recruited from different places with different mindset, with different political affiliations here and there. That is the only problem with Inec. So I will urge, while confirming this particular nomination, which is very important, I want to thank the committee chairman, the great man from Kano, former governor of that place, and all other members for this very wonderful job they did over the weekend. Truly, for we are not transiting again. My only appeal to this great man is for him to be more careful and cautious about the staff of Inec, And he has a job to do, and he has a name to protect. As we go down through this another transition, his name, the name that he will make after this next one, is far more important than the faces of human beings that will be appearing before him for favors. Mr. President, my other respected colleagues, I'm happy with this nomination, and that's the reason why when he was nominated, the announcement was made through this Senate. Nigerians rejoiced. But what is important, crucial, is for him to do the job and leave a legacy that will be far important than whatever achievements that he has done so far. Thank you, Mr. President, for the...
DSP.
Thank you, Mr. President. Uvi Omo Agege Delta Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, first I'd like to begin by thanking President Muhammadu Buhari.
Point of order, leader.
To order, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor, Minority Leader. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was consulting the gods. I saw...
when did Senator Johnson become a god? Or is a small god?
Thank you, Mr. President. I saw second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate suspends Order 13 to enable us sit beyond 2 o'clock, say aye. Those against any dice have it. Okay, DSP.
Thank you, Mr. President. Like I was saying, Mr. President, I'd like to begin by thanking the President, President Muhammadu Buhari, for this nomination or re-nomination. I thank him because, Mr. President, this is the first time we're having a chairman of Inec re-nominated for a second term. Mr. President, President Muhammadu Buhari should be commended because he saw and recognized what a majority of Nigerians recognized in the way and manner Professor Yakubu conducted the affairs of Inec in the last 5 years. Mr. President, let me also thank the Inec committee for a very good job going through this report, taking their time in putting together everything we needed to know about the chairman of Inec. Frankly, all he did, or the committee did, was bring to the fore what most of us, have always known about the Inec chairman, about his comportment, his temperament. But more important than all of this is intelligence. For those of us who have interacted, with him. Mr. President, I stand today to support this nomination, not just so much because of all that has been said about him, but because the chairman is a chairman who recognizes the limitations placed on Inec by the enabling law, which is the Electoral Act. And he has been very, very forthcoming. He has been very, very creative, coming up with creative ideas on how we can sanitize the system. Mr. President, I have been very, very privileged and honored to have worked with him in this endeavor, both during my membership of the committee on Inec in the 8th Senate, and now as an honorary member of the committee on Inec. Mr. President, I'm excited because he's very, very willing to accommodate a lot of the reforms that we seek, and most of these reforms were brought to the fore during the retreat that was conducted by Inec in Lagos just before the lockdown. I'm very, very confident, Mr. President, that the report on the Inec committee dealing with electoral reform will be out in no time, and the amended Electoral Act will give him the enabling environment to be able to give us a very, very good elections going forward. So with these few remarks, Mr. President, I support this nomination. Thank you very much.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's very difficult to follow after the DSP has set the lead. But, Mr. President, I just have only a comment to make with regard to the way that we did the confirmation. And I think that usually, by our convention, the head of Inec usually comes in front of the Senate, and we act as a committee of the whole in plenary. I had posed this question to the chairman, and he said, oh, that because it was a second term.
He posed the question to me as well. And I responded the same way. This is not a new person. This is someone that was here before you 5 years ago, and at that time he was new. We wanted to know whether he had the capacity to perform as Inec chairman. So I responded to you the same way, and we said we must not render our committees useless by taking away some of their responsibilities when we don't have to. I responded the same way, so you can go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for trying to preempt me. But what I wanted to do, sir, is to say that certain positions, like the Inec position, means that if after the term of office, even if we bring him a second time, there are new experiences that he has garnered that the world needs for us to ventilate through our collective review of his nomination. Be that as it may, I will suggest that what happens with us in a parliament is always that you build up a body of conventions and things that you do. If we continue to change at every time, then we'll have a parliament that doesn't actually have.
Minority Leader, we'll make sure that we don't change the convention. If we have another person going for second term he was not coming here, so that we maintain this, because we build the convention ourselves. And if you have any advice for Inec chairman, you can give the advice even here without him around. So we are not going to bring someone and not bring another person.
Thank you, Mr. President, for now setting the records very straight. I fully concur with the opinions canvassed, especially the one canvassed in the reports that we saw about the introduction of the Inec portal, where election results are transmitted at the end of every poll. That is the reason why you find today that after the do election, not too much problem because everybody saw it. After the undo elections, not too many problems because everybody saw it. And if we use this going forward, because what is important for us is to make sure that votes count and votes matter. And so that we can always have a situation where we no longer will have too many votes coming from Boko Haram infested.
Senator Abaribe, please, no, you can't do that. You can't say that. You can't say that. This is castigating and demeaning those of us from Boko Haram infested areas. And if there were votes from Boko Haram infested areas, they were genuine votes. I'm not speaking for Senator Kashim Shettima or Senator Ibrahim Bomi, but I think it's only fair that we don't judge the votes from northeastern states as maybe fake votes or something, please.
Mr. President, I wasn't saying so. You are the person putting words in my mouth. But I will say that this is a very good innovation. Number 3, the technical improvements in the smart reader, the inclusiveness in the voting process and the electoral process, accommodating the Albino Foundation and people with disabilities. These are all the things that we want to happen in the electoral process. I so submit, President.
Senator Samegu.
Thank you, Mr. President.
No, there's only one Samegu. Prof, you wait after Senator Samegu speaks.
Maybe you want to... thank you, Mr. President, for recognizing me again. Samegu Ebonyi North. I want to appreciate the report of the committee and to say that I'm not disappointed because when I was a minister, I worked with Professor Mahmoud. He was the executive secretary of ETF, now Dead Fund. And he was one of my best chief executives. When he came here, I spoke in support of his nomination. And today we are happy that everybody is talking good of him. And in my few interactions with him, he told me that Mr. President never interfered with his job. And that's a very good thing to hear. I'm also aware that Mr. President said at the end of his tenure, he must have left a very good electoral process for this country. So my plea to him and Mr. President that he should have the political will to maintain this standard. We have seen the elections in the last 2 elections, Ondo and Edo, and we would wish that subsequent elections will go even better, so that the votes of Nigerians will count, and the confidence Nigerians have in the electoral system will be returned. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you. Senator Professor Sunday Ono.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this is a good day for Nigeria. Very good day. In this country, we are used to situations where we pull down our own
Today, as a Senate, we are recognizing the fact that there is a square peg in a square hole. This professor sitting as chairman in Inec has demonstrated competence, has shown indeed that he's an unbiased umpire. Today, politicians don't go into elections scared of whether they will be oppressed or not. That is the reality. If you are with your people and you are doing the needful, you can trust that you will go to the field and win your elections. That is the kind of situation we have always asked for. I do believe, going by his performance in the first term, that he will do even better in this second term. I'm looking forward to a situation where we will digitalize our processes even more. Let us be in a position where only the best, as determined by the people, emerge victorious in elections. Let us also go to that situation where you are so conscious of the fact that if you don't do well, you will not return. I do believe that Professor Yakubu is moving in the right direction, and we should give him support with this confirmation. The President has done well, and we must say so. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Peter Wabushi.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise first to support the confirmation of the nominee. Mr. President, 2 days ago, I read in the newspapers that the PDP senators were opposed to the nomination of the nominee, and that today was going to be hot. But I'm very happy that everybody who has spoken, majority of the people who have spoken today are PDP senators supporting this nomination. That is to show that the belief or what people thought that is going to happen did not happen. We have disappointed those who thought that we are going to oppose this nomination. I support this nomination wholeheartedly, especially where the chairman and the report say that the man is apolitical. And many of us have tried to see if we can link him to any political party or any political association or anywhere, and we have not been able to find anything to the contrary. That shows that he's an unbiased umpire and that he's good and qualified. I'm also very happy that he's a student of history. I have read what the chairman has said. He's a professor of history, and he knows that history is beckoning on him, and that whatever he's going to do, he will be judged by his performance. So on this note, I wish to support his nomination. Thank you.
Senator Gabriel Susan.
Mr. President, Dr. Gabriel from Benue Northeast. Mr. President, just to re-echo what my colleagues have said, if we look at page 8, first paragraph of this report, Mr. President, it speaks to the character of the person we're talking about. I'll just read 2 lines of that page and that passage. The nominee appealed to the committee and the entire National Assembly to expedite action on the amendment of the Electoral Act within the first quarter of 2021. Mr. President, it takes only a man of integrity to make this appeal. He wants to do credible election in this country, and he's appealing to us to create that enabling environment for him so as to do his job creditably. And so, like other colleagues have said, this man has shown competence, he has shown integrity, he has shown unbiased nature. Because in the past, Mr. President, most Inec chairmen have had to undergo or go through a lot of criticism, especially from opposing parties. There is no person in the opposing party who will oppose the nomination and confirmation of this man today. Because we've shown credibility, he has shown credibility in the process. He is further appealing that this process, we should do our job so that he can do his job better. And so, Mr. President, I believe that there's no further argument about the confirmation of the chairman of Inec, a man with very high integrity. Mr. President can simply put the question, and this man will be confirmed, so that we'll move to the next agenda. Mr. President.
Senator Barkia. Senator Kabir Barkia.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Let me first appreciate the report of the committee, of course, for the confirmation of the Inec chairman. Mr. President, if we look at the conduct of the previous election, definitely we know that, yes, Inec did their best to conduct all the elections peacefully. Therefore, this man really has performed and showed capability, at least, to run the Inec, and also must be, of course, appreciated. And Mr. President, if going by what had happened, if there's anything, even maybe at least the legacy this man left, or maybe he will leave after this confirmation of second tenure. It was during his time we have this inconclusive elections, and at the end of the day, it was concluded. So I think this man deserves to be confirmed. Therefore, I rise to support the presentation of the committee that the Inec chairman should be confirmed. Thank you very much, Mr.
Mr. Ajibola.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Dr. Rajudin Ajibola Bashiru, representing the good people of Osun Central Senatorial District. The importance of the renomination and what has transpired at the plenary today is very important to underscore, particularly those that are stuck in trade, is to seek to destroy the image and integrity of the National Assembly. And I say particularly at a notorious online media that even when nomination was done by Mr. President, it has gone online to say the principal officers of National Assembly had collected money for nomination, for the confirmation. As has been seen, confirmation of nomination as a process in the National Assembly. It is not the sheer prerogative of not even the president or the principal officers, but collective, debate and resolution at the floor. And I'm happy the point that Senator Wabusi raised here, that taking census of those that have contributed on the suitability and integrity of this nomination are people even from the opposition party who ought ordinarily, if the man in question has been seen to be partisan, to be biased in favor of the present government, that would not have been the case. I want to say and appeal to Nigerians, particularly those that stay outside the shore of Nigeria and fire salvo on the basis of falsehood, mischief with intent to undermine our national institution, to think that it is only somebody who is insane that use negative hand to point to the house of their father. I join other colleagues in supporting this nomination because the importance of electoral integrity is very crucial to democracy, very crucial to good government. If we are sure that our leadership recruitment methodology is free and fair, there will be the impetus for those who have been elected to continue to act and act in the interest of the Constitution, in the interest of the people, knowing very well that in a free and fair contest, they will be rejected if they don't perform according to the wish of the people. I join colleagues to recommend that this nomination, very important and also historical, should be confirmed. Thank you, Mr. President.
Francis Adams.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I join the Senate Committee on Inec and congratulate them for the job well done. And to Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, he has broken the history. or first appointment. It's the first to be appointed because of his firmness and character. In fact, it's a pillar of hope for democracy. He encouraged people like us to contest because with him, vote counted. Very firm and a destabilized leader. But my worry is the staff he inherited. Some of them who have already buried themselves in the electoral fraud and corruption with business as usual. For now, he's trying his best to remove them from the system, and that is why we are having some electoral successes. And he has placed Nigeria on a global electoral table as a stable democracy now. At least to make our election to have integrity all over the world. But now that he has nothing to look for again after this post, his appointment must bring in real electoral principles, democracy principles, that he should please let vote count so that the young ones can come into the system. Then our people in diaspora, our electoral law during his tenure should be able to encourage them so that they can vote the way other advanced democracies are doing. The people with disabilities, they should be encouraged to vote during his tenure. I know he can do it. And with this, Nigeria will go a long way in the democracy map. Thank you, Mr. President.
Deputy Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Boacha Emmanuel. Mr. President, at the risk of repeating what has been said, I want to be very concise and brief. Professor Mahmoud has actually distinguished himself on two issues I'm going to enumerate. One, it is public knowledge that every public servant that has worked in the public and experienced count on his side. What I'm trying to say is experience is key in assessing the performance or productivity of a public servant. And having gone through these 5 years, as it is with the practice even in the parliament that we cherish ranking senators or members of House of Representatives because they have a lot of experience. And I think Mahmoud has acquired same. Having said this, I want to speak also on my personal encounter with the erudite professor, Mr. President, during the 2019 elections. Coming from an opposition party, we had issues in our state about the elections. There were insinuations, innuendos about certain things that were not known to us. And I put a call to him directly. He picked the call and promptly attended to what we requested him to do. And this is what we expect of any public servant in dealing with politicians who belong to two, sides of the divide. So, Mr. President, on this note, I join my colleagues to recommend very strongly that Professor Mahmoud be allowed to give us the best he has so that he will have a time with history. And I'm sure he is going to do more and improve in areas where there were lapses in this very important sector in our political history. I so
Leader of the Senate, Committee of the Whole.
Mr. President, I rise to move a motion for the Senate to resolve with the Committee of the Whole to consider this report. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into committee of the whole to consider the report of our committee on Annex, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Approval. Will the Senate approve the nomination of Professor Mahmoud Yakubu for appointment as Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, Inec? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move for the Senate to resume plenary to enable the Chairman report progress.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second that you report progress.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the chair reports progress, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, on the screening of Mr. President's nominee for appointment as Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and approved the nomination of Professor Mahmoud Yakubu as Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Confirmation. Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Professor Mahmoud Yakubu for appointment as Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The confirmation, the nomination of Professor Mahmoud Yakubu is hereby confirmed as Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Congratulations to him, and we wish him the best of luck. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Power on the confirmation of the nomination of the following persons as listed in the order paper for appointment the Chairman, Vice Chairman, and Commissioner for the National Electoral Regulatory Commission. Distinguished senators will recall that the request of Mr. President Commander-in-Chief was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 25th November 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Gabriel Suswan, Chairman of the committee, to move a motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Senator Gabriel Suswan.
Mr. President, my name is Dr. Gabriel Suswam, representing Benue Northeast. Mr. President, I want to move that this Senate do receive the report for the confirmation of the nomination for appointment as Chairman, Vice Chairman, and Commissioner for Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. Mr. President, I so move.
Looking for a seconder. Okay, Senator Shabi Salo.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I rise to second that the Senate do receive the report as proposed by Senator Suswa. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of our Committee on Power, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You may let the report. Chairman, present the report, please.
Mr. President, once again, Dr. Gabriel Suswam. Mr. President, on Wednesday, the 25th, the Senate sitting in plenary received a communication from Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces for the confirmation of the following nominees as Chairman, Vice Chairman, and Commissioner for Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC, namely Engineer Sanusi Garba, Chairman nominee, Dr. Musuliu Oseni, Vice Chairman nominee, and Aisha Mahmood, Commissioner nominee. This appointment were made pursuant to Section 34, Sub 1 of the Electricity Power Sector Reform Act 2005, which requires the appointment of person to the office of Chairman, Vice Chairman, and Commissioner subject to the confirmation of such nomination by the Senate. By order of the Senate dated Wednesday, 25th November 2020, Mr. President's request was referred to the Committee on Power for further legislative action and report on Tuesday, 1st December 2020. Mr. President, in order not to waste time, I'll go to observation and recommendation, which is on page 12, I think so. No, wait. Which is on page 10. Mr. President, the committee, after receiving the referral from the Senate, invited the nominee and had very robust interview, screening process with them. And at the end of the day, the committee arrived at the following findings and observations. The committee findings are to the effect that these nominees are qualified to hold the positions ascribed to them on the governing board of NEC under Section 34 Sub 1 of the Electricity Power Sector Reform Act 2005. 2, that all the screened nominees are well qualified and have the requisite experience to be appointed as Chairman, Vice Chairman, and Commissioner for Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC. 3, that the nominees were articulate in their responses to the questions raised during the screening exercise. 4, that there is no petition or there was no petition against any of the nominees, and that the security checks did not reveal any negative information against one of them. Recommendations. Having carefully interviewed Opayemi, the President said you are...
Senator Suswam, please leave me to deal with that. Just address our colleagues.
He wasn't listening, so I wanted to re-echo what you said. Recommendations, Mr. President. Recommendation, Mr. President. Having carefully interviewed, screened, and scrutinized the nominees' credentials, and being satisfied with their performance, experiences, and competencies, the Senate Committee on Power hereby recommends that the Senate do confirm that the listed persons as Chairman, Vice Chairman, and Commissioner of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC, Engineer Sanusi Garba as Chairman of NEC, Dr. Musuliu Oseni as Vice Chairman of NEC, and last but not the least, Aisha Mahmood as Commissioner of NEC. Prayers that the Senate do consider the report of the committee and approves its recommendation. Mr. President, I so submit.
Any comments? Yes, Leader of the Senate.
Thank you very much. My only a very small and straightforward one. Some anecdotes, look at the way paragraph 9.3, all the other male senators, male nominees, had capitals, but unfortunately the female nominee has not been rendered in capital. So don't stand to be accused by our female folk of discrimination against women. What's the word for discrimination against women? The chairman should not.
Okay, Chairman, take note. And also, in addition to what the leader said, let her also enjoy a prefix. Even if she doesn't have anything, she can be a Miss or Mrs., even if she's not an engineer or doctor. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise to move the motion for the Senate to resolve the Committee of the Whole to consider this report.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wholeheartedly endorse the motion moved by the leader that we now continue the confirmation process.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the report of our committee on power, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. We do approval. Will the Senate approve the nomination of Engineer Sanusi Garba as Chairman of the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Will the Senate approve the nomination of Dr. Misliu O. Aseni as Vice Chairman? Is it Vice Chairman? Yes, as Vice Chairman of the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Will the Senate approve the nomination of Aisha Mahmood as Commissioner of the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to a motion for the chairman to report progress.
President, I rise to second that you report progress.
Thank you. Those in favor of the motion that the chair reports progress say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate and the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Power on the screening of Mr. President's nominees for appointment as Chairman, Vice Chairman, and Commissioner for the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC, and approved the nominations of Engineer Sanusi Garba, Chairman, Dr. Misliu Olalekon Oseni, Vice Chairman, and Aisha Mahmood as Commissioner. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Confirmation. Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Engineer Sanusi Garba as Chairman of the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Engineer Sanusi Garba is hereby confirmed as Chairman of the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC. Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Dr. Misliu Olalekon Oseni as Vice Chairman of the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Dr. Misliu Olalekon Oseni is hereby confirmed as Vice Chairman of the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC. Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Aisha Mahmoud as Commissioner of the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Aisha Mahmoud is hereby confirmed as Commissioner of the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC. Congratulations to all of them. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the consideration of the reports of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Policy. In respect of A, petition from Captain Diamond Onobere against the Nigerian Navy for unjust treatment and refusal to promote him. B, petition from Alhaji Bashir Abdullahi and 5 others against MTN Group Limited and Airtel Nigeria for alleged unbearable noise and discomfort caused by a telecommunication mast mounted at number 20 Oke Agbe Street, Garki, Abuja. C, petition from Ahmed Tijani Yusuf, Esquire, on behalf of Aqua Ibom Cooperative Fisheries Association Limited against the Mobile Producing Nigeria Unlimited for alleged refusal to pay the sum of 11,063,916,000 naira compensation for oil spillage caused by its facilities from 1998 to year 2012. And D, petition from Mr. John Z. Tumba against the National Examination Council, NECO, for alleged unlawful dismissal from the service of the council. And E, petition from Chief Superintendent of Police Eberuche Mai, retired, against the National Pension Commission, PENCOM, for poor retirement benefits, pension of retired police officers. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, we will recall that these reports were laid on Tuesday, 25th February 2020, Wednesday, 1st July 2020, Thursday, 5th March 2020, Tuesday, 11th February 2020, respectively. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Patrick Ayo Akinelure to move the motion for the Senate to consider the report of the committee.
Distinguished Senator Patrick Ayo Akinelure.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name remains Ayo Akinelure, representing Ondo Central. Mr. President, I stand to move that the Senate do consider the reports of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions in respect of A, petition from Captain Diamond Onobeshi against Nigerian Navy for unjust treatment and refusal to promote him. B, petition from Alhaji Bashir Abdullahi and 5 others against MTN Group Limited and Airtel Nigeria for alleged unbearable noise and discomforts caused by a telecommunication mast mounted at number 20 Okeagbe Street, Garki, Abuja. Number C, petition from Ahmed Tijani Yusuf Esquire on behalf of Aqua Ibom Cooperative Fisheries Association Limited against the Mobile Producing Nigeria Unlimited for alleged refusal to pay a sum of 11,063,916,000 naira only for compensation on oil spillage caused by its facilities from 1998 to 2012. D, petition from Mr. John Z. Tumba against National Examination Council, NECO, for alleged unlawful dismissal from the service of the council. And finally, E, petition from CSP Eberuche, Mike, retired, against National Pension Commission, PENCOM, for the poor retirement benefits and pension of retired Nigerian police officers. Mr. President, I so move. Consideration.
Have we gotten all the reports? There are supposed to be 5 reports, right? So we take them one by one. Let me have the report, man. Comments, Senator Gabriel Susa.
Yeah, Mr. President, my comment is on your remark that we should take them one by one. I think he has 5 reports, and because of time that it will consume, I would like to suggest that let him present the entire 5 reports, and then we'll take comments at the same time. Otherwise, we'll stay here, we'll not take any other item till we disperse. So let him take the 5 together, and then we'll comment on them at once. Mr. President, that is my suggestion.
Okay. Distinguished Senator Patrick Akinlure.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. The first report is report of Committee on Ethics, Privilege and Public Petitions in respect of petition against Mr. Captain Diamond Onorbishe against Nigerian Navy for unjust treatment and refusal to promote him. Mr. President, the Senate will recall that on Tuesday, 8 October 2019, the chairman of the...
Chairman, you know what to do. We don't have to read everything there.
The committee was unable to see the link between domestic matters and official matters, as one could not be mistaken for the other. 2, that the reason why Nigerian Navy did not promote Captain Diamond Onobishi from the rank of captain to that of commodore was because he was said to have reached age of 52 before the promotion, which is not allowed by their status. Fortunately, the president was able to prove that Nigerian Navy wrong before the committee, as he provided evidence of his birth, which showed that he was only 51 years old in 2016 when he should have been promoted. 3, that with respect to his properties with the Nigerian Armed Forces Resettlement Center Oshoji, Captain Diamond Onobeshi should be advised to collect them from the commandant of the center. And 4, that if Captain Diamond Onobeshi had any claims of unpaid allowances, he should present them for consideration of the Nigerian Armed Forces Resettlement Center. Recommendations of the committee. Based on the findings above, the committee recommends as follows. 1, that the Nigerian Navy be mandated to immediately promote Captain Diamond Onobeshi from the rank of captain to commodore and retire him in the new rank with benefit because he proved his case beyond reasonable doubt to the committee that he was 51 years and not 52 years old, as claimed by the Nigerian Navy in 2016, when he should have been promoted. 2, that the Senate do mandate the commandant of Nigerian Armed Forces Resettlement Center to release his property in their custody on demand by the petitioner. Mr. President, I so move.
Any comments? Then we'll go to the recommendations. Recommendation 1, recommendations on page 6 of the report. Recommendation 1, the Nigerian Navy be mandated to immediately promote Captain Diamond Onebehe from the rank of captain to commodore and retire him in the new rank with the benefits because he proved his case beyond reasonable doubt to the committee that he was 51 years and not 52 years old as claimed by the Nigerian Navy in 2016 when he should have been promoted. Those in favor of this recommendation say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. And recommendation 2, the Senate do mandate the Commandant of Nigerian Armed Forces Resettlement Center to release the properties of Captain Diamond Onabe in their custody on demand by the petitioner. Those in favor of recommendation 2 say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Thank you. Next.
Thank you, Mr. President. The second report is the report of Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions in respect of petition from Alhaji Bashir Abdullahi and 5 others against MTN Group Limited and Airtel Nigerian Limited for alleged unbearable noise and discomfort caused by telecommunication mast mounted at number 20 Okeagbe Street, Gaki, Abuja. After the referral of this petition to the Committee for Legislative Action on 26 February 2020, the committee invited the petitioners and the respondents, and after careful observation, after careful studying of their submissions of both the petitioner and respondent, the committee arrived at the following findings on page 4. On page 5 as follows. After careful scrutinizing the submission of the petitioner and the respondent, the committee noted as follows. 1. That although the houses located at number 20 Okeagbe Street, Gaki, Abuja, where the telecommunication mast was mounted, was purely a residential area, yet commercial presence already existed in that environment since the mast was placed in the middle of the hotel in the area. 2. Notwithstanding the above scenario, upon advice by the committee, IHS revisited the mast area and provided 2 solutions. 1. A short-term solution was put in place, that is to run the noisy generator only in the day, while the plant was silent all the night. B. A long-term solution to replace the existing generator with a silent one. This IHS said will take a minimum of about 120 days to import. 3. The committee reasoned that the measures of IHS was putting in place was sufficient and could remediate the noise pollution, and when it is put in place, should be accepted. Recommendation of the committee. Based on the finding above, the committee recommends as follows. 1. That the generator that powers that telecommunication mast installed by IHS Nigeria Limited be made silent all night in the short run to minimize its noise as agreed, so that residents of number 20 Okeagbe Street, Gaki, Abuja, will no longer be deprived of their peaceful rest at night. B. That in the long run, a new silent generator be imported to replace the noisy one as a permanent solution. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, I so move that the Senate so consider the recommendation of the committee. Thank you.
Comments? Distinguished Senator Kabir Barkia.
Thank you, Mr. President, to you colleagues. Of course, if we look at the report, initially the first page said that I reported this issue to the chairman of the committee, that of course the MTN mount this must. Of course, in fact, I can say, Mr. President, it's a good colleague. This must is just like not more than even 7 meters behind a bedroom in my house. And of course, one of the petitioners is my junior brother. He's staying in that bedroom. So, Mr. President, of course, after studying what is in the report, I think I disagree, because since that time, when the meeting was held with the MTN and then the committee, up to now nothing has been done. The MTN rather didn't replace those generators with the one that maybe will not make noise. And of course, Mr. President, not only even the generator issue, but everybody knows that must has is a challenge to our health. So, Mr. President, I cannot really agree that yes, just maybe changing the generators should be enough. Therefore, we have to compel the MTN to remove that, especially that it's a residential area. And you cannot even, what is make it worse, that somebody is running a hotel in that house, and then again invited this MTN, you collected money from them, and then mounted the mast. So, Mr. President, and this is completely against the law of even setting all these communication companies. So therefore, Mr. President, I have to really call that yes, this particular should, at least we have to put an ad hoc committee again to go and revisit it and then put serious investigation. Because we cannot agree, at least, to be at risk of our health, Mr. President.
Okay, all right, okay. Let me find out who is responsible for allowing or approving the construction of these masks.
President, after cross-examination, the committee was satisfied that they got necessary approval from FCC department to have that thing installed.
Who approves? No, it can't. FCT cannot be approving the construction of masks because I'm sure the operators, when they get approval, they pay money maybe to the landowners or something. So that cannot be FCT. The approval, because there has to be some assessment of the impact, the potential impact of the masks on human beings, isn't it? So definitely NCC may be the one that is approving this. So if that is the case, if it is NCC, I think we'll task our committee on NCC to handle this, to call MTN. I think MTN is the owner. To call NCC, to call MTN, maybe first call NCC and see why they should approve such a feature, such a must near people, near a residential building with the potential to affect the health of the people there. And it doesn't matter whether it is a member of the National Assembly's residence or indeed anybody's residence. We are not doing this because it affects one of us. It doesn't matter really. So I don't know, maybe my feeling about the recommendation is we stand it down. We give the Committee on Communications maybe a week within which to get NCC to explain this, and where it is not defensible, then they should relocate to protect the health of our people. Is that okay? Okay, somebody should suggest that. Opeyemi, I saw you raising your hand. Distinguished Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. Michael Opeyemi, Badmidele, Ekiti Central. I actually must say that I have my own signature appended to that report, but in view of the information that has come to us on the floor of the Senate with respect to environmental impact assessment, that was done by the petitioners and the residents, and our conviction that we should not do anything that would jeopardize public health. It is my pleasure to move that the Senate allow the report as it is to be stepped down while the matter is further referred to the Senate Committee on Communications to work with the Senate Committee on Public Petitions within the next 1 week with a view to ensuring that they liaise with NCC and other relevant agencies. And if the matter cannot be resolved, in overriding public interest, that the mass itself be relocated. I so move.
Thank you very much. Any seconder? Yeah. Senator Yusuf.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Yusuf Taraba Central, I stand to second the motion proposed by Senator Bamidele that the report be stepped down and then for Committee on Communications to do the assessment and then come out with some report. I so second.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that we stand down to consideration of the report until another legislative day, and meanwhile, the Senate Committee on Communications works with the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions to invite NCC for further investigation into the potential or the risk, health risk involved with the current position of the mass. Say aye. Those against any, the ayes have it. Next report. Sorry. Is that the only recommendation? Yeah, I think even the second recommendation should go along with the first one. All right, next report.
Thank you, Mr. President. The fourth report is that of a report of ethics, privileges, and public petition in respect of petition from Alaji Tijani Yusuf Esquire on behalf of Akwa Ibom Cooperative Fisheries Association Limited against Mobile Producing Nigeria Unlimited for alleged refusal to pay 11.063 billion as compensation for air spillage caused by its facilities from 1998 to 2012. After the referral of this petition to the committee for further legislative action on Wednesday, 11 December 2019, the committee invited all the petitioners and the respondents, and after careful submission and scrutinizing the petitioner's position, we arrive at the following observations and findings on page 6. After reading the submission of the petitioner, the committee noted that the petitioner, Ahmed Tijani Yusuf Esquire, in a letter dated 3rd February 2020, withdrew the petition. He wrote on behalf of the Akwa Ibom Cooperative Fisheries Association Limited, due to irreconcilable differences with the members of the association, that it could not continue with the case because the petitioner had written to the committee to withdraw it. Recommendation. Based on the findings above, the committee hereby recommends that the Senate should stand down the petition since it has been withdrawn by the petitioner, Ahmed Tijani Yusuf Esquire, due to irreconcilable differences with members of the association. Mr. President, I so move for consideration of the report.
We'll go straight to the recommendation. Okay, Minority Leader.
Thank you. I just want to find out from the chairman what it means by standing down. If somebody has withdrawn their petition, when we say stand down, it means that it is there somewhere for further consideration. So I would have thought that having withdrawn, you completely let it die entirely.
Chairman.
Well, I agree with that submission, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, because they have withdrawn it and it will not effect any longer.
So, if it has been withdrawn, then there is no petition before the Senate. So it is struck out. All right. Those in favor of the new recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Next report.
The next report is that of a petition from Mr. John Z. Sumba against National Examination Council, NECO, for alleged unlawful dismissal from the service of the council. After the referral on 25th of September 2019 to the committee for further legislative action, we invited the petitioners, we invited all the respondents as well, and we came to the following findings and observations as detailed in page 8 of our report. 1, that the petitioner, Mr. John Zumba, actually joined the Federal Civil Service in 1991 as Education Officer 8 from the Federal Ministry of Education, transferred his service to the NECO in 2000, and rose to the rank of director in 2016. That the petitioner, Mr. John Tumba, has served meritoriously for 27 years and has held several sensitive positions such as head of typesetting item bank, state officer, zonal coordinator, head of division, acting chairman, National Examination Council, staff school, etc., without any query in his file until the present issues, which led to his dismissal from service. 3, that the petitioner, John Z. Sumba, who was queried on the ground of refusal to obey lawful instruction by the acting registrar to travel for monitoring of the 2018 June-July NECO SSC examination, actually delayed his traveling by working for the suspended former registrar / chief executive from 28th of May 2018 when the lawful instruction was given by the acting registrar CEO at a well-constituted meeting of management till 8 June 2018, a situation that suggested divided loyalty to the former registrar instead of absolute loyalty to the new acting registrar CEO. Since he only traveled on 8 June 2018, after completing an assignment on his table, and eventually began NECO examination monitoring on Monday, 8 June 2018, up to Monday, 9 July 2018, as evident from the submissions available at the disposal of the committee. That it could not be ascertained if Mr. John Zetsumba was actually the one that invited the civil society organization to picket, that is, to protest at the NECO headquarters and the state offices nationwide during 2018 June-July NECO SSE over suspension of the former registrar, Professor Charles Nwakwe, as NECO claimed. There was no evidence before the committee to that effect against Mr. John Zetsumba. 5, that it was evident from the document available to the committee that there was no way that Mr. Tumba could have reported the incident of the stolen 2018 June-July SSC registration card to the acting registrar who assumed duty in May 2018 when the incident happened on December 2017. The committee found that he was wrongly accused here. And 6, that although the petitioner Mr. Zetsumba was actually guilty of 2-count charge of unilaterally authorizing the chief security officer, CSO, to invite the police to occupy the gate of NECO at the slightest suspicion of possible trouble without the approval of the acting registrar. And secondly, for not immediately carrying out the lawful instruction of the acting registrar to travel immediately to monitor the 2018 June-July NECO SSE, which effect from 29 May 2018, which was actually delayed, which was eventually delayed by him till 8 June 2018 before traveling out of the station to commence monitoring on 11 June 2018. Based on the recommendation now, based on the following findings, an observation, the committee in its wisdom and guided by the principle of equity, fairness, and social justice, hereby recommend to the Senate for approval as follows: that the service of Mr. John Zetsumba be reinstated with demotion from the rank of director to deputy director to serve as light punishment for his negligent action as a director, special duty, instead of outright dismissal from service of NECO as a first offender after 27 years of meritorious service to the nation. Mr. President, I so move for condition and approval of this recommendation.
Any comments? Okay, we'll go to the recommendation. That the service of Mr. John Z. Tumba be reinstated with demotion from the rank of director to deputy director to serve as light, do we have to say light punishment? Eh? Punishment is punishment, isn't it? Okay, as a punishment for his negligent actions as a director, special duties instead of outright dismissal from service of NECO as a first offender after 27 years of meritorious service to the nation. Before I put the question, Chairman, what did NECO say in defense of their action of dismissal?
Well, I think, you see, they decided, because of divided loyalty between the former registrar, because they alleged that he was loyal to that person, that he was not taking lawful instruction, and that the allegation against the man could not be proved by NECO, that he actually traveled to attend to monitoring of June-July 2018 exam. But they claim that he didn't travel at all. But he justified that before the committee that he actually obeyed the instruction. But they are...
So because he disobeyed instruction, he should be dismissed? Was that the ground for the dismissal? So why are you saying he should be demoted to deputy director if all that he did was not to obey the something? Because I want us to have something that will stand. Warning. Senator Patrick Abomoro.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, my name is Abba Moro, representing the good people of Benue South Senatorial District. Actually, I intended to amend that that recommendation, and that the man be reinstated, and at best, for disobeying instruction, that it should be warned. Huh? It should be reinstated to his position with a warning. Well, that is why we are sharing the problem. Actually,
Sorry, Senator Abomoro.
that the man should be reinstated to his position as director, and for not carrying out immediately, which connotes that he carried it out at all, that he should be advised to subsequently immediately carry out lawful instructions. I think demoting him is to the extreme, and so I want to amend that recommendation.
No, before you amend, I just want us to be properly guided. If this man was guilty and NECO has something strong against him and instituted disciplinary action, is the disciplinary action commensurate with his guilt? If it is not, we can take the recommendation of the committee. If, however, he was not supposed to be penalized by demotion, then we shouldn't do that. That's all I'm saying. Maybe the chairman will guide us.
Thank you, Mr. President. Findings and recommendations that we have here, we may not necessarily want to look beyond what has been put on the paper here for us. From all indications, the man is not guilty of any offense.
Okay, chairman.
The basis of our decision was based on the finding number 6, that though the presidential minister Joshua was actually guilty of a 2-count charge for unilaterally authorizing the chief security officer, CSO, to invite police to occupy the gate of NECO at the slightest suspicion of possible trouble without approval of the acting registrar. That was the first one. The second one was the delay, which translates to. So, what if the Senate so consider that this one will not be enough to demote him, then we can be reinstated with warning.
Leader, you know, you people, you are in the civil service for a long time. This thing that that he called police to come to NECO gate, and the delay for what? What is the second one? You say the second one is the delay. Okay, so what would the civil service rules?
Those kind of rules normally for these kind of offenses, you know, they just require query and reprimand. They do not amount to issues that will tail to dismissal. And I think this case is a very intriguing case. There is more to this issue than is presented in that report.
Then the onus of proving this issue is on NECO.
You know, I don't think any right-thinking civil servant and a senior officer will meet visit a person for the offenses that have been recommended, that have been pointed out here. I think there must be more to this issue than what has been presented in that report.
Yeah, because of this, you dismiss somebody from work after 27 years of service. Senator Brangovic.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. In fact, the first question that I want to ask is, was this man queried? Has he answered the query so that we can know exactly what is happening? Because we have not seen any procedure based on which he has been dismissed. Was he given a query? Has he answered that query? You know?
I think we have not really established much. And I think the issue also is the nature of the report that we have gotten. The disciplinary authority, should have provided information on the basis of the procedures that were followed before arriving at that decision. Personally, without any attempt to demean the position of the committee, I don't think the committee in this particular case, have really done the right job, for the officers. Now, to take a position now on the basis of what they have stated, will be doing disservice to the institution because it has not been revealed whether the normal due process and procedures have been followed. And to also, take their recommendation now, will amount also to doing disservice to the institution itself. So my own position, a guided position, Mr. President, is to step down the consideration now and allow the committee to go back and invite both parties, to come with the necessary documentation and of the processes, that led, to the dismissal of the person, and then look at it in the light of the relevant civil service rules, and then come back to this chamber, for deliberation and possible resolution of the crisis.
Yeah, I think because someone served for 27 years, we shouldn't just rush to accept dismissal and say we are doing a favor by reducing the punishment from director to deputy director. I think, guided by the leader, NECO particularly, the institution, needs to come up clean and clear with the processes it followed to arrive at that sanction of dismissal. So, Chairman, ethics and privileges, you will, you have to do that additional work of getting NECO particularly, because the man who was dismissed would have done his job so well. That was why he recommended he should be, the punishment should be reduced to demotion from director to deputy director, and then he's retired. But NECO in this report has not given us enough for us to take a decision, a major decision like this. Is that okay?
Well, the basis of our decision, we base our decision based on facts before the committee. But what the committee resolved was that 27 years in service, without any offense, without any query for one day, that if we supposed to even to be dismissed, there must be first query, second query, and third query before the procedure for asking person to leave the service must be followed. In this case, we suspected a foul play because of divided loyalty. Because the allegation of NECO against this guy was that he never even obeyed the instruction of the acting register.
Chairman, you see what we are suggesting here is NECO should come to you with all the processes they followed, the procedures they followed to arrive at this. By the time they do that, you would know whether it's because of their internal politics or they were really, they had the new reasons to dismiss the person. You may find out that they don't have strong grounds to dismiss him. So the issue of even giving him deputy director would not arise. He remains his director. Do you understand? So we just want to protect the individual. We also want to not to undermine the institution. It's a delicate balance that we have to strike. So I will have to put the question. Those in favor of the motion that we stand down the consideration of the report of our Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petitions till further legislative actions are taken, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The last report.
Finally, Mr. President, the last report is the petition in respect of CSP Eberuche Mike, retired, against National Pension Commission, PENCOM, for the poor retirement benefits to pension of retired Nigeria police officers. Mr. President, this report was referred to this petition was referred to the committee on Wednesday, 6 November 2019, and immediate legislative action was taken by the committee by inviting the petitioner and the respondents. And after careful scrutinizing the submission before the committee, we came up with the following observations and findings as stated in page 7 of our report. After careful studying the written and oral presentation of the petitioner, CSP Eberuche Mike, retired, and the respondent, the National Pension Commission, PENCOM, the committee observed as follows. 1, that the Association of Retired Police Officers of Nigeria, APON, comprises retired police pensioners under the Defined Benefit Scheme, DBS, and Contributory Pension Scheme, CPS. 2, that while DPS was for the officers that retired before the commencement of the Pension Act, PRA 2014, those under CPS were retirees thereafter. 3, that the agitation of the retired police officers and other paramilitary services to exit from the CPS and to join the DBS was because of low retirement benefits, so pension paid to them, unlike their sister forces, the armed forces and the DSS and the intelligence services, who enjoy 300% gratuity of their last gross salary in lump sum as well as pension for life. 4, that the expression of grievances and complaints over the discrepancies on the payment of retirement so benefit so pension rage on in 2019 set up a committee to critically look into it, analyze and provide solution to the myriad of problems besetting the scheme. 5, that the recommendation of the committee, which were acceptable to APON members, necessitated the jettisoning of their earlier claimant to exit from the Contribute Pension Scheme to Defined Pension Scheme. 6, that the recommendation of the committee, among others, include retired police officer retirement savings account, RSA, should be increased from 7.5 to 20% by the government. B, payment of special gratuity of 300% of police officers' gross salary at the point of retirement by the government. C, review of Pension Act, Reform Act 2014 for every 5 years, or whichever there is an increase in salary. And D, officer of the rank of Assistant Inspector General of Police and above should retire with full salary as applicable to permanent secretaries. E, pension fund administrator PFE were to give monthly report on earning, on investment, etc. Number 7, that in respect of the payment of 300% gratuity to a retiring officer, Section 4, Section 4A of the PRA 2014 provides that, notwithstanding pension contribution made by employer, an employee into the employee's RSA, the employer may agree on the payment of additional benefit to the employee upon retirement, unquote. That accordingly, the federal government might wish to provide additional benefit to personnel of the police and other paramilitary agencies upon their retirement. Number 8, that benefits already in place before June 2004 could, in the case of police and other paramilitary agencies, still be provided by the employer, federal government, under the CPS as enshrined in Section Section 117, Subsection 3A of the PRA 2014, which allow for continuation of any additional free benefit enjoyable upon retirement before the commencement of the Pension Act, pension reform in 2004. And 9, that ACON wanted the support of the Senate in their demand for enhanced retirement benefits of pension, thereby adding impetus to their request letter for the approval of the committee's recommendation that was receiving the attention of the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Recommendation of the committee. Based on the finding above, the committee hereby recommend to the Senate as follows. 1, that the Senate do commend the petitioner, Eberuche Mike, retired, and other members of the Association of Retired Police Officers of Nigeria, APON, for dropping their initial proposal for the exemption of the retirees of the Nigerian Police Force from the contributory pension scheme, on the ground that the issues suggested by the proponents of the exemption could be sufficiently addressed within the framework of the contributory pension scheme. 2, that the Senate do urge Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief of Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to graciously approve the demands of ACON for enhanced retirement benefits of pension that have been sent to him by the association. And 3, that the National Pension Commission, PENCOM, should synergize with the Association of Retired Police Officers of Nigeria to implement the outcome of the presidential approval when released, since benefit already in place before June 2014 could, in the case of the police and other paramilitary agencies, still be provided by their employer, federal government, under the CPS as enshrined in Section 117, Subsection 3A of PRA 2014, which allow for continuation of any additional benefit enjoyable upon retirement before the commencement of the pension reform in 2014. Mr. President, I so submit for consideration of the Senate.
Thank you very much, Chairman. We go to the recommendations. That the Senate do commend the petitioner, Eboreche Mike, retired, and other members of the Association of Retired Police Officers of Nigeria, APON, for dropping their initial proposal for the exemption of the retirees of the Nigeria Police Force from the contributory pension scheme on the ground that the issues suggested by the proponents of the exemption could be sufficiently addressed within the framework of the contributory pension scheme. Why do you want us to commend them?
We commend them for taking a bold step to address the issue before the Senate.
You see, if something is wrong and cannot stand, somebody would have to do what is right. If somebody does what is right, we don't have to commend them. It's not an extraordinary this thing, but we can do so, but maybe we don't have to be giving commendation where it may not be necessary. Leader, huh? Aha, maybe that's, but leader is suggesting we replace commendation with the Senate notes. Which one? Notes. Okay, so how do we make it? Minority Leader, how do you adjust, because we have to amend it. The committee is supposed to be the committee, notes. The committee notes. Okay, those in favor of recommendation 1 as amended, say aye. No, we need seconder, please. Seconder, Senator Suswam. Oh, okay, Senator Suswam.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion for the amendment of recommendation 1 as ably moved by the minority leader.
Those in favor of recommendation 1 as amended, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 2, that the Senate do urge Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to graciously approve the demands of APON for enhanced retirement benefits pension that have been sent to him by the association. Those in favor of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And recommendation 3, that the National Pension Commission, PENCOM, should synergize with the Association of Retired Police Officers of Nigeria, APON, to implement the outcome of the presidential approval when released, since benefits already in place before June 2004 could, in the case of the police and other paramilitary agencies, still be provided by the employer FGN under the CPS as enshrined in Section 117(3)(a) of the PRA 2014, which allows for continuation of any additional fringe benefits enjoyable upon retirement before the commencement of the pension reform in 2004. Those in favor of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. President, I move a motion for this chamber to step down consideration of all other items on the order paper to another legislative day. So move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that we stand down the consideration of the remaining items on the order paper till another legislative day say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate is hereby adjourned till tomorrow, Wednesday, the 2nd day of December 2020 at 10 a.m. prompt.